Hey there, speculators. Welcome back to the channel. It's Rod, Futures on Fire, part of the TDG Traders Dev Group. We make strategies and provide education for active futures traders and self-directed investors. Hey, tonight, going to make it pretty quick. Maybe start another Futures in 5 kind of episode where I get through this in just about 5 minutes. Today, what I'm going to do is talk about some tendencies that happen in markets when we see big down moves, which we have seen over the last 3 or 4 trading sessions, really for the last week or so. Dow Jones down about, 1,500 to 1,800 points in just 3 sessions here. So I'm going to take a quick look at that. And then also I want to cover margins. It's such an exciting topic, but gang, the elections are coming up, and about 3 weeks ago, Interactive Brokers decided to preemptively increase their margins, and now I'm seeing it from a bunch of other FCMs, which is futures clearing merchants, and other IBs are introducing brokers. So I'm just going to go through margins really quick tonight as well. If you're new to the channel, it'd be great if you could hit like and subscribe if you find value in what I'm going to do tonight. It really helps grow the channel and encourages me to post a little more often than I do. That would be super. So, okay, let's go ahead and get started. I'm on TradingView over here. I'm going to move to about a 4-hour on the Dow Jones. And let me come over to the right instrument. I'll just go to the continuous contract, tighten this up a little bit, and you can see big old retracement all the way back to where we were here on the latter part of September. So really, we're about almost at the end of October, and we've round tripped this entire thing. I won't go through why this is a potential swing buy down here. You could obviously see that there's structure down here, but I wanted to get into exactly how the market closed, okay? How it closed. So I'm going to go back to the 30-minute here and come in here. This might be a little bit difficult to see, but essentially this was our closing candle right here. And it came down and basically closed on the absolute lows, right? Closed on the absolute lows. Now, the market tendency, down, 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 3 days down. Okay, you might have heard of these silly 3-day rules or things like that, but things do tend to happen a little bit in threes. And on days in which any of the stock indices, and I'm just looking at the Dow Jones here because I did the particular trade on the Dow Jones. One of the things I talk about a lot is how, and one of the great benefits of the futures markets is they trade about 23 hours a day. And many of us have full-time jobs, can't be in front of the screen all day long, things like that. But you probably check the markets if you're an active trader a few times a day, and you would have seen that today was a pretty big down day for all of the indices, including the Dow Jones. It was a big down day for the Dow Jones yesterday. So when you begin to see that type of behavior, that's the time you want to tune in right near the close for a potential opportunity to trade the basically what we call the closing range right before the market closes. So I won't give you, I don't have time to go into the whole setup and signal here. It doesn't occur all that often because you essentially need a number of different things to line up. But essentially what you're looking for is back-to-back, 3 is better, but back-to-back down days in which the market essentially closes right when the futures market closes at around 3:15 Central Standard Time, 1:15 out here on the left coast where I am. We're going to want to buy that last candle right into the close. Okay, then the market opens up for a brief period of time for a half an hour, and then opens again officially at 5 p.m. Eastern. So the actual trade, and I posted it here in Telegram just to give you an idea. It's right here. I'll highlight it, and it says long MYM, which is the micro Dow Jones, at the close 26,425, stop 325, which is 100 points. That's $150 on 3 micros. It's 50 cents per tick. And the target was 650 to 700. Okay, this trade just lasted a few hours because the market opened up again, and right here you can see hit the long of 650, excuse me, 650, 175 points, all flat in our little emojis here. Okay, and then I noted here the MYM trade on 2.5% plus declines when the indices close at regular session lows. Watch for opportunities to get counter trend moves early in the reopen. All right, so that was basically the session that happened today. Just wanted to point out that even if you're not an active trader and watching the markets all the time, you're probably going to catch the days in which, or the weeks that start off with a decent amount of selling. This will tend to work out a lot better on the downside as opposed to trying to short big, huge moves. We've seen how difficult that has been, certainly this year off the COVID lows. But on down days, on times in which you're getting close to pullbacks of 3, 5, 10% in the course of 5 to 10 trading sessions, that's when you're going to see some opportunities for dislocation, as longs have to basically, day traders have to exit all their positions right near the close. You can come in and scoop up those positions, especially using the micros, because the margins are not that high for the micros. So let's talk about margins real quick. All right. So I'm just up on AMP's page right here. AMP is one of the brokers that I work with. I work with a lot of them, but they're just came out today with their increased margins. Okay, now in the link below you can see one of the. I decided to do something a little crazy and basically got rid of everything I do except for one monthly membership that's crazy low, and I think it's tremendous value. You can check it out below. It's called TDG Total Access. And in TDG Total Access, I now include access to the entire Futures on Fire Foundation course, where there's, I think, 2 videos on margin where we go into a little bit more. If you're not familiar with margin at all, or you know a little bit about margin for stocks, it's essentially how much money you need to buy one of these futures contracts. And the way it works here is you have what's called maintenance margin and day margin. Okay, maintenance margin. I'll put a link to this actual page right in the description below as well, because AMP does a nice job of just explaining the difference between maintenance and day trade margin, and the fact that maintenance margin is set by the exchange. In most cases, it's the CME or the Chicago Mercantile Exchange, but not in all cases. There's some futures markets that trade on other exchanges, although the CME is pretty much the monopoly big dog that owns most of the exchanges. And the day trader margin. So the IB, the introducing broker, in this case is AMP. AMP's also an FCM, futures clearing merchant. You have a day trader margin to maintenance margin. So let's just go through it on something like the MES real quick. So the day trade margin is $80, which simply means during the day trade session, which is the cash session, same as the stock cash session, that's going to be 8:30 to I'm going to give you my time out here. I was messed up. 6:30 to 1:30, right? 6:30 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And at that point, you have to have $80 in your account to hold one S&P. But the moment that you flip, and it flips essentially at 1:10 or 3:10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you're now going to have maintenance margin. Or in other words, if you hold that contract through that very brief period of time, just 15 minutes, you're going to switch from only needing $80 to needing $1,200. Okay. Now the reason that that's important in the case that I'm mentioning here is because I went and bought 3 micro MYMs. Now that didn't cost me much. I just needed a little less than $3,000. I didn't actually do it in an AMP account, but the margins are elevated over at Interactive Brokers. They're way more elevated over at Interactive Brokers. So at AMP, that trade, when they switch these margins over, which I think they just did today, you'd have to need about $3,000 in your account. Okay, $3,000 is not the value of the contract you're buying. It's just the amount of money or margin required to do it. So if you had $3,000 in your account, you could buy those 3 MYM, hold them through, and this is important for that trade, hold them through that 15-minute close. I actually held them the extra half an hour and then sold them at somewhere around 6 to 6:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, or about 4:30 to 5 p.m. my time. Might have been a little later. I can't remember exactly. But that's basically what's important to know, is because the trade I'm mentioning tonight is one in which you actually do have to buy it right near the close. There's a lot of day traders that don't want to hold through the close. There's a lot of prop programs, which I talk about here on the channel, proprietary trading programs, where you are required to be flat from essentially 5 minutes prior to the close until the reopen. Okay, so basically for about an hour and 15 minutes, you have to be out of the market. By the way, there's really nothing wrong with that. All you miss is that gap that occurs between the reopen and the close, which generally is not that big. But on certain days when you get a lot of selling and you get lower closes and closes that are closing on the lows, you have this opportunity to do that trade that I just mentioned today. Let me point out a few other things that are kind of interesting here. Is look at the NASDAQ. The NASDAQ actually requires more maintenance margin to hold a single contract. This is a single full NASDAQ contract. $16,000, even more so than the VIX, the front month. Oh, sorry, the VIX is right here. The front month VIX contract. You get into the real big dogs when you talk about something like the DAX. Okay, so you can trade the DAX, which is the German stock index. You can trade that with 5,000. This is in dollars. The DAX actually trades in euro, but this is in $5,000 in your account. You could trade one contract per day. The DAX actually has closed very low, closed on I think it's 4-month lows today or something like that. maybe 3-month lows, given what's going on in Germany right now. But almost $49,000 if you hold it right through that closing period. Okay, so that's quite a bit of money. You better be expecting some significant moves in your favor to justify not just closing it and then reopening it at the reopen of the market. If we scroll down here, one of the things I wanted to point out that's very underappreciated, if we go to financials, is the 10-year. Okay, this is the 10-year bond at Futures on Fire and the Futures on Fire Trade Room, TDG Pro Trade Room. We talk a lot about the fact that I think that bond trading for retail traders is so underappreciated. Now, I know everyone's looking for action. You want to trade crude oil, you want to trade the S&P, you want to trade the stock indices. That's cool, I get it. But the 10-year note there, even with these increased margins, is only $1,550 to hold a 10-year note through. So you could basically swing trade these bonds with very little money, maybe hold 2 or 3 contracts for as little as $5,000 and hold those for multiple weeks or multiple days and not close that position out. Okay, you're not going to see big gaps anyway in the bond market, so it's not a huge deal, but I just wanted to point out how capital efficient they are. And then when you get into some of these euro boon bonds and things, they're also pretty capital efficient, or something like the euro dollar. I mean, look at that, 225. Now, obviously, the tick instruments are pretty small as well. Okay, so essentially, don't get too fooled by how little money some of these brokers, especially like AMP, will extend in terms of your buying power during the day. You want to be properly capitalized so that you can potentially take advantage of opportunities that exist between that close, the market close, when everyone is getting out of a position that they don't want to stay in, or they're a prop trader and they've already gotten shelled trying to buy the lows for the day. You come in and scoop that up right at the bottom, and by that way, that MYM trade, risking $150, produced a $400-ish, $350 return, because it was up almost 250 points from where I bought it just several hours later. All right, we'll leave it there for tonight. Again, if you're finding this valuable, appreciate a like and subscribe. Turn on a little bell notification so you know the next time that I'm broadcasting. And I'm going to try to do a little bit of a challenge where I post at least, I've said this in the past. If you watch to this point, don't hold me to anything. I really want to post more content here. It's really not that difficult. I'm not sure why I can't just break through and do it. I do have a lot of projects going on. Anyway, that whole part of this was completely useless. Hey, appreciate you watching till the very end. Again, check the description below if you want to see this link to AMP's description of their increased maintenance. This is really going to only go through the election, and potentially a little further on. They said that they reserve the right to change it at any time based on current market conditions. And then you can also check the link below for access to the TDG Total Access, which again is just one flat monthly membership, which provides everything that I provide. It's a trade room, it's the Telegram the Discord, private Discord channel. It's 5 different courses. It's a lot of other goodies for some ridiculously low price, because I really want to try to help as many people as I can. And I'm finding that just selling the courses or just the trade room, or people don't think they have time, or they don't learn the same way. So we're just going to offer all of it. You can find out more about that in the link below. All right, that's it for tonight. Again, my name is Rod with Futures on Fire TDG, reminding you to stay green, trade like you mean it. We'll see you at the next update. Thanks.